My mom lied about my dad abandoning us, so I exposed her abuse and left. A year later, she's at my door saying she's changed. I grew up believing my father didn't want me. My mom used to say it in passing, like it was some sad, static fact of life. He walked out when you were 3, she'd say, usually while folding laundry or drinking wine on the porch. Never looked back. Some men aren't built to be fathers. I'd ask questions sometimes. What did he look like? Was he mean? Did he ever try to call? And she always had a story, a new shade of the same tragic painting. He left me with nothing but bills and a screaming toddler. She'd tell anyone who'd listen. I held us together. I did everything for that girl. And for a while, I believed her. Hell, what choice did I have? It was just the two of us. No grandparents I knew of, no siblings. I never met any of her friends for more than 5 minutes. People came and went like they were stepping in from a storm and leaving the moment they dried off. She was cold and sharp, the kind of mom who'd leave notes on the fridge instead of saying goodbye. I remember once, when I was maybe 9, I asked her to come to my school's Donuts with Dad's event. She laughed in my face. Maybe you should write to the guy who abandoned you, she said. Oh, wait. You can't. Because he doesn't give a shit. It wasn't just the absence of my dad, it was everything about her. The way she'd berate me when I cried, call me ungrateful if I asked for a hug, the way she'd get quiet and scary when she drank. I remember hiding in closets. I remember learning how to read her moods like weather patterns. Door slams meant bad days. Too much makeup meant she was going out and leaving me alone. I learned to not talk back, to not need anything. By the time I turned 17, I was good at pretending I was fine. But there was this emptiness. I didn't know who I was. Half of me was just a question mark she filled with blame. That started to change on a rainy afternoon last year. I was cleaning out the attic, looking for an old photo album for a school project. Most of the boxes were junk baby clothes, a broken humidifier, her wedding dress crammed into a storage bin like it was garbage. But then I found the letters. They were in a shoebox wrapped in an old t-shirt. Dozens of them. Yellowed paper, all addressed to me. All signed the same way. Love always, Dad. My hands started shaking. I opened one. The date was from when I was 5. I hope you're doing okay, sweetheart. I sent a teddy bear with this letter. Did you get it? Your mom won't answer my calls, but I'm not giving up. I love you. More than anything. Each letter was more desperate than the last. Birthday wishes. Stories. Apologies. Mentions of court hearings, custody battles. One said he'd driven 8 hours just to see if he could catch a glimpse of me after school, but that mom threatened to call the cops. It was like my whole childhood cracked in half. I confronted her that night. She was in the kitchen, making her weird frozen chicken casserole. I walked in, holding the letters like they were evidence in a murder trial. What is this? I asked. My voice was shaking. She barely looked up. Where did you find those? I told her. She stared for a second, then turned off the stove. You weren't supposed to see that, she said flatly. They were from before. Before he gave up. He didn't give up, I said. You kept them from me. You lied. And then she snapped. He was toxic. He wanted to take you away from me. He said I was unstable. Can you believe that? I protected you. If I let him in, he would have poisoned you against me. I'll never forget that moment, because in that instant, everything made sense. Her possessiveness. The way she isolated me. The way any time I showed interest in anything or anyone outside of her, she'd sabotage it. She hadn't protected me. She'd imprisoned me. I told her I was leaving. She screamed. Called me ungrateful. Said I was brainwashed. That he would ruin my life just like he ruined hers. She grabbed my wrist so hard it left a bruise. I gave up everything for you, she hissed. Don't you dare throw me away for a man who never wanted you. But I wasn't a scared little kid anymore. I packed that night and left. I had nowhere to go except my best friend's place, but it didn't matter. I was free. The next few weeks were chaos, staying on couches, trying to find a job, tracking down my dad. But I did. He lives 3 hours away. He cried when I called. Said he thought he'd never hear from me again. We met at a diner. He brought every photo he'd saved of me. I saw myself in his eyes. I belong somewhere. It's been a year now. I'm in therapy. I'm learning what love is supposed to feel like. I'm finally okay. Or I was. Until last week. I came home from work and found a woman sitting on my porch. It was her. She looked thinner, paler. Her eyes were watery, makeup smudged. "I've changed," she said before I could speak. "Please, just hear me out." I didn't say anything at first. She just stood there, hugging herself like she was freezing, even though it was warm out. I could smell her perfume from the porch, same one she used to wear when she'd go out and leave me with frozen dinners. It was like getting punched in the stomach by a memory. "I've been going to therapy," she said, voice trembling. "Every week. I've done so much work. I'm not the same person I used to be." I stayed in the doorway. I didn't invite her in. "What do you want?" I asked. Her mouth opened, but no words came. She looked down at her shoes, then back at me. "I want my daughter back." And just like that, the breath left my lungs. This woman, this stranger, had the audacity to ask for me like I was a toy she'd lost in the attic. Like she hadn't destroyed my entire sense of self. Like I was just, on pause, waiting for her to get her act together. "You don't get to ask that," I said quietly. My heart was racing. She took a step forward. I know I don't deserve it. But I've been thinking about everything. About the things I did. I wasn't well. I had trauma too. There it was. The pivot. Always someone else's fault. Always some mysterious force made her do the things she did. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just told her the truth. "You lied to me for almost 20 years. You let me believe I was worthless to my own father. You made me hate a man who spent years trying to find me. You didn't protect me, Mom. You abused me. Emotionally. Manipulatively. You turned my whole life into a cage. So no, I'm not your daughter anymore. Not in the way you want me to be." She blinked fast like she was trying to force tears out. "But I didn't hit you," she said, and that made me laugh. Actually laugh. Because yeah, she didn't hit me. But I learned to flinch anyway. Learned to shrink. Learned that love was something earned, withheld, used as punishment. What she gave me wasn't safety. It was conditional affection with barbed wire around it. She said she'd been clean for almost a year. That she'd quit drinking. That her therapist told her to reach out when she was ready. "This is part of my healing," she said, as if her healing required me to be her final reward. I asked her one question. "Do you regret what you did? Or do you regret being alone?" She couldn't answer. Not really. Just started crying harder, saying she missed me, saying we could go to therapy together, that we could rebuild. I told her I'd think about it. Not because I meant it, but because I couldn't bear to fight anymore. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of my pain. She left a letter in my mailbox that night. I didn't open it. I burned it in the sink. The truth is, the worst part of all this isn't the lie. It's the memories that are now poisoned. The bedtime stories she used to read? Now I wonder if those nights were just manipulation. The times she cried in front of me and I comforted her? I was a child trying to calm a storm I didn't create. I reached out to my dad again the next day. Told him she showed up. He didn't sound surprised. "She does this," he said. "She gets just far enough into therapy to feel justified, not far enough to change." That hit me hard. Because it's true. Change isn't just stopping bad behavior. It's acknowledging the damage and taking full responsibility. It's humbling yourself. She hasn't done that. Not really. She wants my forgiveness like it's a key to the house she burned down. I spent the rest of the night journaling. That sounds cheesy, I know, but it helped. I wrote about every moment I could remember. The first time I realized she could twist words like knives. The way she'd cry if I tried to go to a friend's house. The way she'd say you're all I have, like it was love, when really it was a trap. I'm not ready to forgive her. I don't know if I ever will. But I know this. I'm not walking backward. She wants a reunion. A performance of healing. But healing isn't about letting the person who hurt you back in. Sometimes it's about locking the door for good. The thing no one tells you about uncovering childhood lies is that your brain doesn't know where to file the old memories anymore. I couldn't stop replaying things after she left. Things I hadn't thought about in years. And now I saw them differently. I saw her differently. Like this one time, I think I was 11, my school held a parent lunch day. All the kids had their moms and dads show up with fast food and smiles. I remember waiting at the gate, clutching the note she wrote me. Can't make it. Important meeting. We'll celebrate later. Back then, I blamed myself. Told myself I wasn't interesting enough. Not worth skipping a meeting for. Now, I remember how she used to leave the house late every morning, sunglasses on, eyes bloodshot, not dressed for work. She didn't have a job that day. She just didn't come. Or the times I'd ask about my father, and she'd punish me for it, freeze me out, slam cabinets, mutter, "You're just like him." I used to think that was the worst thing someone could say to me. But now I wear it like armor. Yeah, I am like him. Because he showed up. After she reappeared, I found myself dreaming of her house. The old apartment where I grew up. In the dreams, I'm always wandering the hallways, calling for her, but she's never there. Just the echo of her voice saying, "You're all I have," like a curse. I wake up drenched in sweat. Therapy helped. I started seeing someone regularly after I left. At first, I didn't even know how to talk about her. I'd say things like it wasn't that bad, or she did her best, because that's what she taught me to believe, that her abuse was kindness, that survival was a gift I owed her thanks for. But my therapist? She didn't flinch. She told me something that's been tattooed in my mind since. Survival isn't love. Control isn't care. It wasn't until I started rebuilding my connection with my dad that I really understood the depth of what I lost. We talk every Sunday now. Sometimes we'd sit in silence for a minute, just existing in the same space. He never pushed me. He never asked for forgiveness. He just showed up. One Sunday, he brought a box of old photos and letters. Things he'd saved just in case. There was a drawing I made him when I was 4. A card he tried to give me on my 6th birthday, but Mom sent back in the mail, unopened. She told me you didn't want to see me, he said, holding it gently like it still had weight. Said you were scared of me. That broke me. I had to excuse myself to the bathroom and just cry. The kind of cry that comes from a hole you didn't know you had inside you. Because I was scared. Not of him, of the idea of him. Of what she made him out to be. And now I knew she stole my memories. Replaced them with horror stories. Every birthday, every tearful night, every wish I made to understand why I wasn't worth staying for, she engineered that emptiness. There was one last confrontation I haven't mentioned yet. After she came to my door, she sent a few more messages. Apologizing. Then begging. Then accusing. One of them said, "I raised you. You can't just cut me out of your life like I'm some villain." So I wrote back. I waited a week before hitting send, but I wrote it with every ounce of clarity I had. You did raise me. And for that, I'm forever changed. But not every parent deserves a second chance. Some of us had to become our own parents to survive the ones we got. I'm not cutting you out because I hate you. I'm doing it because I finally love myself enough to stop letting you hurt me. She didn't reply. Just left it on read. That was 3 months ago. Since then, I've felt lighter. Like every week that goes by without her voice in my life is a detox. My therapist calls it unlearning the loyalty to pain. That hit hard. I still grieve, though. Not just for the dad I lost for so long, but for the me I could have been. The little girl who might have grown up feeling safe. Who didn't have to carry secrets and silence like a second skin. But grieving is part of healing. And I'd rather mourn a lie than live inside one. There's a weird kind of grief that comes with cutting off a parent. People talk about breakups, friend fallouts, even the death of a pet, but no one talks about what it feels like to choose to walk away from the person who gave birth to you, who raised you, who told you that your world started and ended with them. After I sent that final message, the one where I said I wasn't coming back, something inside me cracked open. Not like a wound, more like a cage. At first, it was quiet, peaceful even. I wasn't waiting for the next guilt trip, the next voicemail filled with trembling anger disguised as regret. I could breathe. I started doing these little things I'd never allowed myself before, like hanging up photos of my dad or journaling about my childhood honestly instead of sugarcoating it. But the quiet didn't last. About a month later, my aunt, my mom's sister, who I hadn't spoken to in years, sent me a message on Facebook. "Your mom is devastated. She talks about you every day. She's really trying. You should give her a chance. Family is everything." I didn't respond. But it rattled me. Because that line, "family is everything," used to be my mother's favorite weapon. She'd wield it like a blade anytime I pushed back. Anytime I cried, or questioned her, or dared to say no. "Family is everything," she'd say. "And I'm the only one you have." That's the thing with toxic parents. They don't just isolate you physically, they isolate your entire sense of reality. They rewrite the rules so that hurting you becomes an act of love, and any attempt to defend yourself becomes a betrayal. It's taken me time to unlearn that. To realize that love without respect is not love. To understand that being related by blood doesn't entitle someone to a place in your life. To accept that walking away wasn't abandonment, it was survival. And yet, even after everything, I still had moments of doubt. Like the night I passed by this little girl at the grocery store, maybe 5 years old, holding her mom's hand, asking if they could buy cookies. Her mom knelt down, smiled, and said, "Only if you promise to eat dinner first, deal?" And the girl laughed and hugged her around the waist. I had to turn the corner fast because I felt the sharp, aching envy in my chest. Not for the cookies. Not even for the hug. But for that simple safety. That bond. That ease. I never had that with my mom. Every interaction was barbed wire. Every act of affection felt earned, conditional, like I was constantly auditioning for love I'd never fully get. So yeah, some days, I wonder what it would have been like if she'd been different. If she'd really changed. If she'd said "I'm sorry" without a single excuse behind it. If she'd put in the work to earn trust instead of demanding it. But those are dreams. And I've stopped living in dreams. The final straw came about 2 months after her porch visit. She sent a package. No return address. Just a box with an old photo album and a letter paperclipped to the front. The photo album was full of our family pictures, her and me at the zoo, at the beach, at my 3rd grade play. I hadn't seen these in years. Some I didn't even remember being taken. She wrote captions beneath each photo, like some kind of scrapbook from an alternate reality. "See? We were happy." As if pictures could erase years of emotional starvation. As if a frozen smile in 2008 could undo all the nights I cried myself to sleep thinking I was unwanted. And then the letter. God. The letter. It was 8 pages long. It started off sweet, apologies, reflections, acknowledgement that she hadn't been the best mother. But halfway through, it turned. She wrote things like, "You've always been sensitive. I was doing my best, and you just didn't understand. You've rewritten the past to make me the villain. I don't deserve this treatment from my own daughter." And there it was. The gaslighting. The guilt. The desperation for control. Nothing had changed. I didn't even finish the letter. I put it in a fireproof bowl and burned it in my kitchen sink. Watching it curl into ash felt like reclaiming something. That day, I blocked her number. Again. I blocked my aunt, too. I deleted the photos. I kept one me and my dad after our first coffee together. We're laughing. I remember that moment clearly. There was no fear behind the smile. It's been almost a year now since I walked away. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But it saved my life. It's wild how people who break you expect to walk back into your life like they're coming home from a long vacation. Almost a full year had passed. I had rebuilt most of my life. Therapy was helping. My relationship with my dad was real and growing. I'd even started talking about things that used to choke me with shame, childhood neglect, emotional manipulation, the gaslighting that kept me tethered to my mother like an invisible leash. I had finally found peace. Then she came back. Again. This time, it wasn't a porch ambush. It was a letter hand-delivered to my job. Not the house. Not an email. My job. It was in a pale blue envelope with my name written in cursive. She used to write my lunchbox notes like that. Back when she still pretended to be a Pinterest mom for the teachers. I didn't open it. I threw it in the break room trash unopened. That should have been the end of it. But 2 days later, she showed up in the parking lot. I was walking to my car, earbuds in, sun setting low, and there she was, leaning against the hood like she belonged there. I froze. My heartbeat slammed against my ribs like it was trying to get out of my body. She saw me, waved, like we were old friends. I pulled out one earbud. "What are you doing here?" "I just wanted to see you," she said. "I wanted to show you. I've really changed." She was wearing clothes I didn't recognize. Her makeup was softer. Her hair shorter. Like she was trying to present a new version of herself, Mom 2.0, the healed edition. "I know showing up like this is probably upsetting," she said quickly, like she'd rehearsed it. "But I've spent the last year working through everything. I'm going to group therapy now. I've read books. I've made amends with people I hurt. I even wrote you letters every month. I just never mailed them." She reached into her bag and tried to hand me a notebook. I didn't take it. "Do you even hear yourself?" I asked. "You're standing in my work parking lot, ambushing me. After I told you to leave me alone." Her face twitched. Like she couldn't understand how this wasn't playing out the way she expected. "I'm trying to fix things," she said, voice trembling. "No," I said. "You're trying to feel better about what you did. That's not the same as fixing things." She looked like she'd been slapped. Then came the tears, the sniffles, the cracked voice she used to use when I was a kid and she wanted me to comfort her. I stood there, arms crossed, feeling nothing but a tight ache behind my ribs. "I'm not here to hurt you," she said. "I just want one chance. One conversation. That's it." I stared at her for a long time. I could see it in her eyes, that old, desperate need to be seen as the victim even now. "You don't get to decide how I heal," I said. "You don't get to knock on the door and expect me to open it just because you finally feel ready." "I'm still your mother," she whispered. "And I'm still the daughter you hurt," I said. She broke down after that. Like really broke down. Sat on the pavement, shaking. Saying things like, "I don't know who I am without you, and I can't live with this guilt." And you know what? For the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel like I needed to rescue her. Because it wasn't my job to carry the weight of her self-loathing. Not anymore. I walked past her, got in my car, locked the doors, drove home shaking. That night, I wrote everything down. Every word she said. Every feeling that bubbled up. Rage, pity, fatigue. I shared it in therapy. My therapist said something that stuck with me. Real change isn't about proving it to the person you hurt. It's about who you become when no one's watching. She had been performing change, not living it. She wanted applause for doing the bare minimum, like not screaming, like not lying, like not calling me a selfish when I said no. But healing isn't a stage. It's not a monologue. And it's sure as hell not a reunion tour. I reported the incident to HR just in case she ever tried to show up again. I blocked her number again. I sent a message to my dad and let him know what happened. He didn't say much, just, "I'm proud of you. I know how hard this is." And yeah, it is hard. Because there's still that voice in your head, whispering, what if this time she really meant it? That hope is a hard thing to kill. But some lies wear hope like a mask. And I'm finally learning to stop falling for it.